In a suburb of Minneapolis, a couple named Mark and Lisa are sitting in the office of a car dealership, signing the paperwork on a new SUV. They've done this 6 times in their adult lives. Every 5 years, like clockwork, they trade in the old car and drive out with a new one. They've never thought of it as a financial decision. They've thought of it as a routine. The new SUV costs $48,000. Their monthly payment is $720. The loan is for 60 months. They feel good about the deal. They negotiated. They got $2,000 off the sticker price. They feel like they won. They didn't win. Here's what nobody told them. By buying a new car every 5 years, instead of buying a reliable car and keeping it for 15, Mark and Lisa will spend roughly $600,000 more over their working lifetime. $600,000, the price of a house in most of America. This is a documentary about the hidden 30-year cost of a habit most people never question. Not financial advice. Let's walk through the math. The first cost is the depreciation curve, and it is the cost almost no one calculates correctly. A new car loses roughly 20% of its value the moment it leaves the dealership lot. By the end of year 1, it has lost about 25%. By the end of year 3, about 45%. By the end of year 5, about 60%. This is not a marginal effect. It is the dominant cost of car ownership, and it dwarfs gas, insurance, and maintenance combined. When Mark and Lisa trade in their 5-year-old SUV for a new one, they're effectively absorbing the steepest part of the depreciation curve over and over again. They buy at year 0, sell at year 5, and start over. They never own the car during the years where depreciation flattens out, and the car becomes a stable, low-cost asset. A reliable modern car, properly maintained, lasts 15 to 20 years. Toyota, Honda, Mazda, Lexus, Subaru. These brands routinely produce vehicles that cross 200,000 miles with original engines and transmissions. The math of car ownership changes completely depending on whether you ride the depreciation curve down to the flat part or restart it every 5 years. The second cost is the financing structure, which is designed to make all of this feel manageable. Mark and Lisa's monthly payment is $720. That feels like a normal car payment in America. The average new car loan in 2026 has a monthly payment of around $740, an interest rate of around 7%, and a term of 68 months, almost 6 years. Over the life of one 68-month loan at 7% on a $48,000 car, the buyer pays roughly $55,000 total. That's $7,000 in interest alone for one car. If Mark and Lisa do this 6 times in their 30-year working life, they pay $42,000 in interest charges. Just interest, on top of the depreciation, on top of the principal, just for the privilege of borrowing money to ride the steepest part of the value curve over and over. The third cost is what economists call the opportunity cost, and it is by far the largest hidden cost in this equation. Every dollar Mark and Lisa spend on a new car payment is a dollar they didn't invest. The S&P 500 has averaged roughly 10% annual returns over the past century, or about 7% after inflation. So the question is, what would happen if, instead of buying a new car every 5 years, they bought a reliable 3-year-old car, kept it for 15 years, and invested the difference? Let's run the numbers concretely. Scenario A. Mark and Lisa buy a new $48,000 car every 5 years for 30 years. Total spent on cars, including financing, taxes, and registration, is roughly $340,000 over 30 years. Scenario B. Mark and Lisa buy a 3-year-old version of the same car for around $28,000, keep it for 15 years, then replace it once. Total spent on cars over 30 years, including all costs, is roughly $75,000. The difference between Scenario A and Scenario B is $265,000 in cash flow over 30 years. Cash that, if invested in a basic index fund averaging 7% real return, becomes roughly $600,000 by year 30. This is the number nobody mentions. The hidden 30-year cost of buying a new car every 5 years isn't the price tag on the cars. It's the $600,000 of compounded wealth that never existed because the cash flow was redirected. The fourth cost is insurance, which scales with the car's value in a way most people forget. A brand new $48,000 SUV costs roughly $2,400 per year to insure with full coverage. A 15-year-old paid-off Honda costs around $800 per year because owners typically drop collision and comprehensive coverage on older paid-off vehicles. Over 30 years, the insurance differential alone, between the new car every 5 years pattern and the keep it 15 years pattern, is roughly $48,000. Not investments, not interest, just insurance going to the insurance company, never to be seen again. The fifth cost is registration and taxes, which most states tie to vehicle value. In states like California, Virginia, Colorado, and many others, annual vehicle registration fees scale with the assessed value of the car. A new $48,000 car in California carries roughly $700 per year in registration. A 15-year-old car carries roughly $100. Same roads, same DMV, different bill every single year. Over 30 years of constantly cycling new cars, the registration differential adds another $12,000 to $18,000 to the total cost. So let's add it all up. Scenario A, the new car every 5 years pattern. $340,000 in vehicle costs, $48,000 in extra insurance, $15,000 in extra registration, and $600,000 in foregone investment returns. Total opportunity cost over 30 years, roughly $1 million. Scenario B, the buy used and keep it pattern, $75,000 in vehicle costs, $24,000 in insurance, $3,000 in registration, and the freed up cash flow, if invested, becomes a substantial portion of a retirement nest egg. Same transportation, same roads driven, same kids dropped off at the same schools. $1 million of difference on this one habit alone over a working lifetime. Now here's the part that's harder to talk about. Why do we do it? Most car buying behavior isn't really about transportation. It's about identity. A new car signals success. It signals that you've made it. The smell of a new car triggers something in our brains, and the marketing industry has spent 100 years engineering exactly that response. 3-year-old cars, by contrast, are functionally identical to new cars. They have the same airbags, the same fuel economy, the same Bluetooth, the same lane departure warnings, the same heated seats. The only thing they don't have is the new car smell and the social signal of recency. You're not paying $20,000 more for a better car. You're paying $20,000 more for the year on the title, and then you do it again 5 years later and again 5 years after that. Now the nuance, because this isn't a one-size-fits-all story. The math depends on several factors. If you drive 10,000 miles a year and live in a region where cars don't rust, a 15-year hold is realistic. If you drive 40,000 miles a year as a sales rep, the math compresses because the car wears out faster, and you replace it on a different cycle. If you live somewhere with road salt and brutal winters like the Northeast or the upper Midwest, the practical lifespan of a car is shorter, maybe 10 to 12 years instead of 15 to 20. The savings still exist, but the magnitude shrinks. If you genuinely value the experience of driving a new car, that's a legitimate preference, but it should be a conscious choice, not an inherited assumption. The cost of that preference over a working lifetime is roughly the price of a paid-off house. That's the trade. As long as you know you're making it, you're free to make it. The point of this video isn't that you should never buy a new car. It's that the default behavior, replacing a working vehicle every 5 years because that's what your parents did, or because the lease is up, or because the new model came out, is one of the most expensive habits in American middle-class financial life, and almost no one calculates what it actually costs. Mark and Lisa in that dealership in Minneapolis didn't know any of this. They thought they were just buying a car. They thought the $720 payment was the cost. The actual cost was $1 million they'll never get back, paid out across 30 years in monthly installments small enough that no one ever flinches. This is a documentary about the hidden 30-year cost of a habit most people never question. Not financial advice. For your specific situation, talk to a fee-only fiduciary advisor who can map this to your income, your driving needs, and your retirement goals. I'll see you at the next one.